We now move to the next part of the evening, and on this one, here's where we leave behind the world of publishing and get into the meat of the matter, which is the poetry. So first of all, I would ask Simon if you would do a reading for us, please. Thank you.
I'll be crucified if I don't wear this thing. It's like some kind of
Collar.
This is all like chilly. It was getting very hot when I come in. So I'm going to read from these 4 books, about 60 poems. No, I'm going to start with a poem which, funny enough, Don Patterson saw, and he sort of felt, this is really, really great, but what's the matter with the middle? You're telling me lots of anecdotes that didn't turn up. So I rewrote it, and it's what happened to my father with his tin leg. And he made 2 uses of it. One, basically, he was training me as a surgeon after this, and he used to smuggle DURA in his tin leg. He was asked by all the doctors and nurses, because it was all banned in Ireland, and one consigned perished in his stomach seat, and that's how I was conceived. And there was another use as well. So a poem called 19 Keir Street. My father, terrified, a poltergeist, balancing round the stairwell in 1953 to the crash of phantom bone china at the spirit level of the bedroom window, as the blanched bedsheet shot off my uncle to the apocalypse cry of visitors, "I'm off!" My father flung his tin limb, a wrenched off phantom geranium bearing perished Durox. My months off broke off gossamer conceiving, smuggled through to all the medics of the Meath, pewter to neuter, and back again. Came silence, the laid out terror. And now he's dead, appears to my cousin. On both my legs, plant, a solid standard, spawned from his cancelled phantom limb. Fuck off, to a future tense of ghosts, to frighten our cupboards out of skeletons, to know the mineral cry of ghosts can only empty or fill a room. I wish I could memorise my poems. That's the one. The other poem, and I'm going to go in a chronological order, is a poem which I'm going to say I can't memorise the others, but Constantine was an extraordinary composer, conductor and writer on music. He also wrote some of the finest filthy limericks in the language, and this is in 1949, so the term deaf mute is part of his language, but this is my imagining him, as ever, drunk. He was discovered by Elizabeth Lutchins a couple of minutes before the performance, no, about 25 minutes, and she said, "What are you doing? What are you doing here? I'm coming to see you conduct at the Albert Hall." And 20 minutes later, she got there, and he conducted an immaculate performance, having been seen in a drunken stupor 25 minutes earlier. He was also the greatest reciter of Walton's Facade, as he often said himself. So I thought, there's only one way I can do this. Constance Blewell Testament. The deaf mute smiles at me through rain before running steadily headlong on, past me, who's only half deaf, who sways batons to Liszt and Waldteufel, intoning daily through a cavorting mask of the late Sir William, who's 5'4" with a walking stick, who sways plastered, staring plastered hair that frames the upturned liquid of her face, listens a glistening second, half-cocked to the sway of my limping authority at the whiskey-lit downpour, glints and facets of a drunken building whose silent of the drunken building till it tones its drunken name, Queen's Hall gone, Albert Hall, facades, all the glitzy, blacked-out faces for a man with a stick and white glove. Have their downs, have their downs, have their downs. Top yesterday pour les touches blanches. Monsieur Lambert, I'm the fucking abbé. I, in plaster grey hair, have taken very kindly to a half-lame, half-drunk, three-quarters drunk defunct composer who in his long bouts of lucidity refuses to conduct my son-in-law. Monsieur Abbé Liszt, girl with a plastered flaxen, No, I only conduct music that smiles, a variation brilliant that slides from piano-chining transcriptions to a death-haunted tubercular joy. Down by the Rio Grande, they sing no saraband. No Chabrier outfaces Wagner. No, I'm the Lutz interpreter, the English Diaghilev, well, this one's sober. Waltzing between two Gemini moons, Margot's and mine. I was lying. She's a Sagittary opposition. Waltzing Matilda in Pole, he tells me. That's to be my wife in the flow. Doing the Lambeth Walk, 13/8 to my Walsall concerto. To my Warlock concerto. Times, jagged blue rhythms. Beat me to his death and the bow ties doing poker duty to my crumbling podium, blue plaster face, showing glimpses of the wedding after. Margot will never forgive me for 10 years of embracing perfection, of an ivory tower undressing, to our blackout, sellout performances, as a gas stove quietly hissing love in its turned up blue footlight language, as the stars shriek in their courses. My downbeat, our only conversation, mute in her eloquence, locked in a stereo pirouette on a bomber's moon, lambent. We're only crease an imaginary moonbeam. The Janus of the lunar Gemini, Tiresias shall flounce for me. Can't you snake a lover who could shed his sex? Not this lumbering bull nor China. An arc of shuddering patience, patience, easing the sundry planets into sense. She disported horoscope from choreography, and what I meant from them just danced away. 10 years all art and no brain, and half my life half listening. Aren't you going in? Why, it's 7:19 in the rain, so let the sinners do the marching in, if the devil can wield the best baton. Always adjust the mask, Yates said, whistling Lily Boulanger in the dark. Always phase the moon within. Wait till a baton stills the building, till the roar's no more than echoing, and I have an ear and a smile and a face to beat time in the morning. The next one's a bit simpler, as that's full of frantic and manic references, rather like the kind of Sitwellian extremities it comes from, back numbers. I don't know if everyone sees one of those adaptations of Antifa. I think the 1971 was shot in this particular room where I got together first time with a girlfriend. Back numbers. Suddenly, this jade 1810 window seat was more than Becky Sharp's, lifted from being the original cosmopolitan prop for sin, shuddering this now illicit wood into our first tart juices. Lust for your athlete's shiver, my trickle-haired werewolf shoulders were a solid grasp of responsibility. Coming down so sadly into words, delicate, I coax your back's huge scab to judder off and think of Goethe. His fingers struck to meter on her back's unblemished rise and fall to an earth of his loving. Yours, gently popped, scars lunar. Too far, it still provides my alien touch of the way this has no easy scanning. But you're inspired as to save me. I sang to the rhythm of your snores. Your thighs are not English. Thank you. I'm going to skip through this one now. Pessoa is a great Portuguese poet. He's dated 1888 to 1935. Obviously, didn't live long. He had cirrhosis of the liver. He was an astrologer, a man who, like everyone in 1916, seems to have involved themselves in astral projections and seances, whether it's Yeats or Pessoa or everyone from the dead and Conan Doyle. And the thing about Pessoa was that he created heteronyms. He created other poets who had such incredible identities that they wrote to themselves to each other, saying that Pessoa has gone too staid and conservative. He even got one of them to write to his girlfriend, Ophelia Coeras, saying, give him up, he's absolutely no use to you at all. And one of his many communicators was Henry Moore, a real person, a Platonist, And I ended up with writing about 30 of them. The first 20 were put in here by Mary Patrizia and Peter Brennan, my great editors, who loved to put holes to make them more modernistic, punch little holes, aerations in them. And I've written some more since then, and Shearsman meant to be bringing out, but God knows when. And what's happening with that is that I decided to extend the conversations. So they're poems from one person to another. And they're real people, and fake people, and people who never existed. Pickwick, for instance, a favourite of his, writes to Pessoa. And then somebody from the famous crook in the papers actually pretends to be him, and so on and so forth. But the conversations are very real, and some of these things sort of happened. All these are extensions of Pessoa's life. They're not translations or anything like that. The one exception is Henry Moore, who actually did say the first time. I'll come to that poem in a little while. But these are the 5 poems. And conscious of time, I'm going to skim through these 5 quickly, but not too quickly. The first poem actually I have got is this thing. It's called Henry Moore, Platonist. And this is what he wrote in a way to himself, this first line, and I extended the idea of this. Henry Moore, Platonist, 1614 to 1916. You, sir, are a masturbator, as if your destiny were a virgin splash of names, a self-swallower's barren touch of time. How can an onanist engender truly and hear the identities of all your bloodless ticking selves? You must take my wife, reborn as mistress. She is the greater masturbator. Your charts will flow. Kindle her balsamic moon. Here's our horoscope. Note Libra rising. Sapient lust will empty you both into day. Mistress is my judgment, not the state of wife with its basket of tears. You're built for the flurry and rive of afternoons. Nights volunteer the compass and trembling arc attune to me, writing this through your quiet of 2 of the clock, though not at my time. I'll progress through your cadent houses, make end of each procrastination. I was in your case, oaken centuries back, stalking growers of aromatic learning, but never to pluck the basil tubs my wife flourished simply at the door to her knot garden. I never entered. You're in my leaf. Don't lay them flat or dry them grey, pale and brittle. Chew them to the stalk. Let us swallow you. The next one is one of the brief pieces that were to do with the Clyde. Alvaro de Campos was one of the poets who had a Scottish education. This man was living in Durban. He'd had a lot of his time actually being educated in Durban, and he expended himself, as it were, as a poet and modernist who eventually got rather sad. Alvaro de Campos to Pessoa in 1914. They ravished patter songs in Upper Albion, spilling from pubs on the Clyde, swinging like derricks rusted by 100 years. Then all hands here shall be orphans of the patrician's oil, long dried into that weld inversion, into the shape of their signs, teetering villas. So they prophesy that my doctrine of rivets, my blueprint of engineer puckering through the tracing paper, is dead as an Etruscan's night song down the Arno, where Kyries will return his breath. Here, my tuning fork rings through an empty hull, a campanile of instant religions. They're right. Cheaper labour will kill it all, like a finger on the fork's windpipe. I cannot breathe and stay here. I'll go with the cabgy kings of overtime, listen with their cauliflower ears to this polyphony of plains, these vortices of the sliding century, where only metalled work can save it, with more and more surfaces fanning out to stop the silence. Don't believe in me, tight rhapsodist. I'll reduce you to lines. Your vanishing point, moustache and tiny matchstick hands, bride of the wind machine, or settled cubist nocturne faces, navy blue, pendant, blown battles and hapless, slowly round. So each sees each of us, so I stick too much from one side. Trumpet nose still stiffing to stay at your quiet, with you and Reese, sushing my sump accent and Cara saying this could never happen. Well, I've got a Cara.
I'm conscious of time, sorry.
How much have I got?
I actually think we're going to have to think we're going to have to...
Because I haven't got
that.
25 minutes, so I don't
Sorry?
really have so much to time. Could I read a couple more poems? Okay.
Yes, sure.
Because I didn't realise
Sorry,
it's come catapulted. In which case I shall read one or two from each of these collections, because I'm going to do the brevity ones, which is the easiest thing to look at. So I can't do the one that I know you like, which is the Donne poem, because that's too long. So I shall read this one, Love, etc. There's no Welsh for orgasm, that conjugate language that's my mother tongue, she told me. That the Dublin nurse quizzed her fill in a home visit whisper. Did you feel thrilled? Probing a throaty colloquial through the gap in her teeth with a Gaelic whistled a gulp empty. It's that space between eros, agape, for the Anglo-Saxons, love, the caress for what you possess, lust, desire for what's not yours, the taking words men wore, like mucus opals, hardening to horses. Love, fragile amore, sucks or shivers through the teeth. Women with a breath inspire children they can't own from death, but blow through warm earth, had to insinuate through their teeth, introduce their tongue to common men, and hope love's palate might harden. Maybe one from this. Can I do one from this and one from that? Short, if I can find it. Okay. It's just that I thought I'm going to abandon that because it was really stretched for time. Sorry, I didn't realise because we catalogue this as a 25-minute reading. So, and the thing that I probably will read is again a fairly brief. Sorry, this is. Yes, Two for Joy. It's the title of the collection. My son Sonia, who also was the poet behind the 1810 window seat, which was back in 1995. 16 years on, this is Two for Joy for Sonia, who's a great friend and basically propagator to a very large extent of Waterloo. She founded it really. Piebald intelligencer, brilliant as two magpies in late March sun. Your words arrest as if caught from dream, but forget their fading like fish scales in air. Keep viral plumage to strike me when I glance up at them, chaffering in the eaves.